Hey Gemini, Cancer season video with lioness hair. Information to work with me one-on-one is below, as well as the link to the extended, which is in the first Patreon link below. That is how you get there. So coming off, down, whatever it is around from your season and into this Cancer season, you may have a lot of addressing to do. There was maybe a lot being said to you this past season, and yeah, you may have said some things, but there's maybe some things that were during the retrograde perhaps that were misunderstandings, or some things were misunderstood, some things were not, and now you feel like you're ready to clear things up. And this is a rebirth in this area of communication for all of you, and every different level has been felt. It may have been, oh my god, see, this is what I'm trying to interpret for you, like what's happening with me. You may have not found it easy to communicate for a little while now, or authentically. A lot of you have been kind of discovering what that is again, especially after, don't forget, Mars was in your sign for a while last year and into this year. And I think we don't, like, I'm someone who reflects like more often than most. And I think that sometimes if you do like reflect, even just in certain transits, if you're really into astrology, like at least a little bit deeper than the surface, and you see different transits and you reflect to see how they have affected you, and how you are now as opposed to who you were when you were in them, even, or like what you were questioning or going through, or whatever was coming up during those transits. And then fast forward like a few months later, here you are now going through different transits. It's a constant. And we have we'll go into it more in the next part, but we have this series of people even in your lives, these different ways of communicating that it's been presented to you before in many different occasions, and you also have presented it, but there has been the frequency, and I talked about this to Taurus a little bit too, in their second part mostly, is that you may be finding that emergence of what communication looks like now. And you've been putting in more work towards that part of your life, but also learning to, and you are someone who can just, like, out of all the air signs, you could probably let go of words the most, even though you love them so much. There's still this part of you that's so willing and able to move on or let go or do whatever it is that you need to do to do it, but to move forward. But this last time maybe feels like even more, or this most recently has maybe felt more like more weight. It's been heavier. It feels harder anyway. And it could be that you are rounding out this time in your life where, as someone who does go to the extremes of character, of becoming someone new, and how we talked about kind of getting rid of some of the different masks or faces or people or whatever it is that you have just kept behind you. And it's kind of like Taurus, where everyone's going through this kind of extreme measure of like, well, what if you did, it's like someone becoming really straight edge who has done like mad drugs, or really loves to party, or just have a good time in that way. I know this is kind of a drastic thing. Jeez, look at me. Are you feeling like this? This is what's been happening? Like, can you see in like a little halo effect going on? That's fun. Because we have the moon here too. So there's this beautiful moment, because it's in between your season and Cancer season, that this rawness, this tenderness, this real pure light in you shines. And it's not that this doesn't happen often. It's just that in this particular season, in this transition, it's very, it's special, it's potent, it's just specific. And it's specific to what you need right now. And, you know, there is this fast track, and I've been coming across this a lot recently of there is a depth of healing that is happening right now, and it's really important to not, even now, not to hold on too much to what these changes look like, because it's still happening. And I know that you're like, okay, and you love it, but I think sometimes, you know, Geminis love it. They love even like, you know, I know this is so, it seems superficial, but it's not, but you love being the one that has like their phone blown up, even though you're out doing things, and like all that, you know, that stuff is just like media, like that connection or interaction, the interaction with it all. And right now you kind of, towards the full moon, especially towards July 3rd, you're going to need a moment where you have it all to yourself. Maybe you know, shut off technology, or you have a few hours if you can, if you're able to have that in your life. Because I know, like, being connected and having connection to certain things, especially if you have certain, you know, whatever's going on in your life, you can't always do that. But if you can, if you are able to, or finding a little pocket of like, okay, complete like darkness in the sense of silence, or just listening to what's going on outside and connecting to the vibration within. I think that's gonna allow for like just so much of a more understanding between you and what's going on right now. If you're just like, what's going on right now? This all kind of seems not, I don't know. It just all kind of seems kind of everywhere. And even I'm saying that, you know, like even you're saying that. So, and for some of you, you just have to cut off some people or situations that feel like they're too much work. It's okay. Like, you know, you have your things, and everybody does, but like, how many people in your life do you have? And then how many people have their things and always are coming to you, or are not respecting what you need in return, and your ability to really feel what's calling to you, like without all the noise, like what's calling to you. Maybe like these two are in nature too, so maybe some of you are going to be in nature a little bit more. Night under the stars, maybe you give yourself moments wherever you are under the stars and take a look. Just take a nice look. And then this outcome I'm seeing is going to be extremely specific. Not so much outcome, but what leads into the next part, which is a lot of cards, a lot more cards than I would have thought. There's this part that's been kind of reaching you for a while now, but sometimes when you're the one, if you're around a lot of people, and that's what the Three of Pentacles is kind of saying, like if you're around a lot of people, or you require a lot of stamina in your job, in your field, in your career, and just in your life. This doesn't feel like love. We'll get to love in a moment. You know, you sometimes you don't realize that more than often, more than others, more than anyone else, maybe you even know, if they're not a Gemini, come up against these weird head-on moments where abruptly a person or life is like, you need to stop in your place, like right now, and recognize what's real and true in this moment. And sometimes it can feel more drastic, and for some of you this month it is. And if something is going on with someone that you are, that's an Aries or a very prominent person in your life, elder person in your life who is not doing so well, I wouldn't worry or rush to them, but I would go or listen. You know, there's something, or there could be this moment where you once found You could have this moment with this person where you once found a lot of friction, tension, and now because you are so much more aware of what's going on with you right now, not that you're not always, but it's like it's very intimate right now, that this moment where you have to like kind of stop and take a look at life, where like kind of things feel like they're stopping, but yet you have to not only it's not that you have to keep going, but you have to reiterate that to maybe people in your life, or make it very clear be very loud and clear about something really close to your heart, really close to what you've been thinking about for a while. Maybe you've been thinking about something even abstract or a concept, even the concept of you in this universe, the subconscious, the conscious, even that, or things of that nature. And all of a sudden you come to this moment, and there for some of you, you could be experiencing a literal death around you, and I'm very sorry. Yet also, whatever that experience is, just know that no matter how it's said, it couldn't really be said in any other way. There's no particular way to communicate that. And I think that's where your maybe even confusion lies with certain things in your life, and how you go about taking action. Like, you want to be everywhere, but you also want to be in one place. For some of you, it's even maybe possibly doing more remote work and traveling, because that can be very much it. But it can also be you can be maybe moving to a place where you feel more connected to that part of you that then wants to go out and work. Maybe you're someone who's becoming more external, even more external with how you make money or how you decide to work on your life. Maybe you get more involved with something. But if that feels too familiar for some of you, I would say then maybe it's time to take that energy and really put it into the true nature of it all. Maybe you get down to the basics of something again, and you really just put your head down, because something happens this month with you, whether it's the news that you receive or news you have to give, and why can't it be one way or the other? Well, this is communicating a couple different things. So remember, this is just general. So we'll get more in depth in the next part, and we'll get there in just a moment. If you want to, the conscious part of you wants to rush back or do that codependent thing or do that thing that you've always done, but there's this other side of you that's like, no. Be more grounded about it. Find your expansion here, because it's Cancer season. And that means that going with where you are instead of fighting against the current, whatever is taking more energy, is not the way right now. Sorry, taking enough energy out of you to do all this other shit, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes you do have to really take care of this space, even though people maybe need you or are asking for certain things or expecting. And it's not about letting them down at all. Okay? See you in the next part.